Additions. Newer, slightly tweaked versions of old favourites are nothing new when it comes to the world of luxury fashion. However, as I have been scrolling through the fall-winter 2025 runways, I've seen a couple of familiar faces pop up. There are a couple of bags, a piece of clothing, and an accessory that I thought was worthwhile to discuss today. Talk about what are the tweaks between this and the old version, which one's better getting new or pre-loved or whatever. So whether or not you're just nosy, you're wanting to get ahead of the game and, you know, squirrel your coins away, or you want to know what to buy on the resale market now before it blows up, this might just be the video for you. I will also have linked some of the pieces below if they're available, whatever, or good condition pieces that I can find. Guys, if you're new here, my name is Cassie and I'm a self-diagnosed luxury addict. I put out videos on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, so if you like luxury fashion, then you're probably gonna love it here, so head on there, subscribe, turn on the bell, become a member of our luxury addicted family. When are we going to rehab? Never. Also I have a Substack now in case you want even more content from me, that will be linked below. Okay, let's kick things off with the Fendi spy bag. So this year is Fendi's 100th birthday. It was probably a good move that they didn't re-edition this bag, which originally debuted in 2005, until this year, exactly 20 years after its first foray onto the scene. So the Fendi spy bag was one of the it bags, okay? It had been blessed with that little stamp of approval, worn by every celebrity that was worth knowing about in 2005. This is a sort of slouchy, has two little top handle, hobo-ish style bag. It was on the bigger side as well. This was a crook of the elbow kind of situation. You weren't really gonna Jimmy Riddle it up. Oh no, you could have actually. Yeah, but just everybody sort of did the whole crook of the elbow thing. The closure of this bag was this sort of like semicircular metal trim sort of mouth that popped open, and then there was like a tassel or a piece of hardware that, you know, another opportunity to give it a little bit of razzle dazzle, okay? The handles were also like in a braided sort of semi-intrecciato-y sort of weave situation. Some were studded, some weren't. There were a load of different varieties available. Now personally, I've never been a big fan of the spy bag. I don't know if it's just me. To me it looks like it's been fashioned out of a dragon. The fact that some of them have this braided handle that's also studded, I'm like, I feel like those are like the dragon scales of something, or it sort of looks like it's been fashioned out of an armadillo. You know, it's just sort of one of those two things. Obviously, fall winter 2025 just showed, and there were loads of spy bags coming down the runway. So be braced for the second half of this year when this is going to be dropping. But they mainly did it in monochromatic versions, different fabrics that I'm going to be going through. Instead of the braided handles, these handles were like twisted all in one, so it is a little bit more of a toned down version of the vintage style. But again, you had that same closure. You don't have that big chunky sort of tag lever. Why can I not think? It's not a toggle? That thing that helps you lift open the mouth isn't there. It's just like two little tails of leather. That's sort of how they're doing it now. It does also seem to be coming in two sizes. There's like a little sort of top handle, chic little baby version that also looks to have D-rings. So it looks like that also allows for a crossbody situation. Then there is a larger sort of medium-sized version of this that can be worn on the shoulder comfortably. So these are the different variations that walked the runway. There's a shiny eel. Caveat. Eel is a thing now. Like, I'm seeing loads of people bring things out in eel. Brands bring things out in eel. But anyway, so there's shiny eel in like a moss green and a burgundy, butter yellow and baby blue satin and black. Whilst the satin looks so like rich and sumptuous, I do wonder about the durability of that. Okay. There's also a shearling pink, and then there's like a woven white fur version as well. Here, you know, I would probably be more inclined to go for the newer versions over the older variation. There does seem to be enough change here to differentiate between the two. You'll see as we go through this list, some of the things are like minimally, if any, different at all. But so there does seem to be like a difference between buying a vintage version and buying a new version of these. So it's really going to come down to, do you want the one that sort of looks a little bit more over the top and edgy? Then it's going to be the vintage. Do you want something a little bit more pared back and minimal and monochrome? Then it's going to be the new version. Like I said, this style isn't really one I'm going to gravitate towards either personally, but if I had to pick, I would be team new in this case. Now this piece This has a special place in my heart because the way I went crazy for these, I wore these all of the time. The Alexander McQueen skull scarves, yes, of 2003. You remember. So, down the runway, Sean McGeer presented the scarves wrapped around bags as like another sort of bag charm to add to one's arsenal. Again, done in that sort of silk chiffon, light as a feather. The wind is just going to whisk it away. It's going to be doing dances, ribbon dances in the wind. And then also they showed a sort of silk blouse version of it. Love that. Love that, you cheeky little Sean McGeer, you. That got me. And here's the thing with the skull scarves is that it's incredibly commercial. These are those pieces that like are easy for brands to produce. They're almost a little bit lazy, but they sell. And do you want to know what? I'm first in the line. I like it. I really do. I like the whole skull thing. I always have. It's very McQueen. McQueen also is a brand that doesn't exactly have like a monogram or like that recognizable of a logo to fall back on. So in this case, it's going to have to be a graphic, and it's kind of always been the skull when it comes to McQueen. I mean, like, even, you know, when he was alive and all of that, like, it was very much a present tone throughout a lot of his collections and all of that business. So that is what makes this super commercial, a really easy piece to shift. Obviously 2003, these have not been discontinued. You can buy one today if you want to in a load of different colour variations, and you can get the sort of normal silk chiffon versions, you can get cashmere versions for something a little bit heavier, whatever, okay? But the only difference, really, between the ones that you can get readily available now and vintage versions, it's just going to be the colours. So if there's like a very specific colourway you're going after, that's going to sort of narrow you down or whatever. But either way, you're getting the exact same thing. When these inevitably get sort of like re-released or a little bit more pushed and all of that, if you've got one hanging in your wardrobe, get it out. Let it see the light of day, because I know it hasn't for a while there. Or if it has, good for you, you're 5 steps ahead of the rest of us, and I'm ashamed and I should have fallen in line. Between my mum and I think we have like 2 or 3 back in the UK. I did see there's a pistachio currently available. And I'm like, do I just, because that way the skulls aren't like too contrasting. It's not like a black and white one, but it's also there, and it's also spring summer. Do I need to? I'm not against it at all. I love it. I really do. And also, all of these pieces, the nostalgia's going to like pang and tug on your heartstrings a little bit, depending on how connected you are to that piece. Like some of the things like the spy bag, I'm not really connected to it, but you might be like, oh my gosh, the spy bag had me in a chokehold, okay? And you're gonna react to it a bit differently. But anyway, get back on track here. The skull scarves. I think that they've done a brilliant job with that blouse. Come on. This is what I'm after, okay? Again, these are the pieces that sort of like bulk up the runway pieces that like, oh, I love it so much. What's that? It's 10 grand. Thank you so much. No, not today, but I will take the little blouse. Okay, I would also love a version of this that would almost be this blouse integrated with the scarf. Okay, so like a roughly little Mozart-y inspired, little bit of this going down the front, and then a little bit of like a pussy bow situation. So you get the scarf integrated in that. I'll let you have that idea for free, Sean. It's great. Please do more of this. I don't want them to overdo it though. I don't want to all of a sudden see like a load of, no. Let's just do like 2, possibly 3 pieces, make it cool, but I like it a lot. So this one, buy either way, it really just depends on the colour, if you're interested, obviously. The next one is the Chloe Paddington bag. Once again, another it bag of the same era, 2005. So it's no surprise that 20 years down the line, ring-a-ding-ding, 2025, these bags are waking up from hibernation, as it were. This was a sort of duffel bag inspired shoulder bag, done in like a soft leather. She was sagging with your belongings, and she had this heavy padlock swinging front and centre. Now, with Chimena Kamali giving Chloe a new lease of life, shall we say, she's released 2 bags that have, I would say, are a bit inspired by the Paddington. The first one being the Kerala, which I would probably say the shape is very similar to that of the Paddington. But then the Chloe 99 bag, they've actually just like said like, oh yeah, this is inspired by the Paddington because it has the padlock swinging on the front. But we haven't seen a copy and paste re-edition of the Paddington. This is pretty much exactly the same as the original. So I did a little side by side, okay? I got my thinking cap on and I got my eyes open, and let me tell you, it was a game of spot the difference. And I was like, There is none. Possibly. The only thing I could see is the sort of hardware plaque that the Paddington hangs off is slightly different, or like has these little flaps on the old one that it doesn't have on the new. It's minimal. This is a piece that if you can get it pre-loved or vintage and that's the vibe that you're after, then do that, because you're not really missing out on getting the new version, in my opinion, unless there's specific colours and everything, right? So definitely for that one. They are doing like a smaller chain top handle version of this bag that hasn't been done before. That's, you know, it's basically like a mini little Paddington blah blah. Obviously that one's not available, and that's like a new style and all of that, so fair enough. I was a little surprised by this next one, because although Dior under Maria Grazia Curie has given us its fair share of slogan t-shirts, I wasn't ready for the resurgence of the 2003 J'adore Dior tank. Now, when it comes to like iconic Y2K luxury pieces, this tank top is one of them. Like, and it kind of always has been. It's never been particularly cheap to buy on the resale market. Now even more than ever. I mean, like, you're still shelling out a few hundreds, if not 1,000, depending on the colorway and the rarity and whatever of this piece. But it is highly sought after. Once again, this was entrenched in like popular culture moments of the time, and I think that's part of why it's so hyped and sought after, right? Anyway, so we've seen this one come down the runway in a kind of grey acid wash, little bit worn in looking tank top, styled under corsets or with like furry bolero sort of things. And from what I can see, there is like a tiny bit of studding on the tank. Now, like I said, on the resale market, you're still having to do a bit of legwork here. You're not going to get this for, I probably wouldn't say, I don't know how much they're going to sell this t-shirt for. I'm going to reckon $900. I would say £750. Based on that, to be honest with you, that's around what they're cropping up on retail, again depending on the colorway. I mean, you could get ones that were white with pink oblique on the letters, oblique with white letters, black and white, red and, what was the red? There was a red and blue one. The one I want, why does this have to be the most expensive one? They had one which had this little zipper bow. Like the zips of whatever had been torn off and they'd fashioned a little bow of it on the shoulder, and I thought that looked so cool and fun and different and interesting. And of course there's the ones that are, yes, painfully expensive. So depending on the variation and if you like this or whatever, depending on what you're going for, what kind of colours you're after and all of that, you're not going to necessarily save money or much of it, I think, buying pre-loved to new. But it depends on the colour that you're after. Do you even like the grey version that they're putting down the runway with a little bit of studding? Will they come out with more colours? Maybe. But I do think it is very interesting that, like, you've done a little, like, Je Dior top, right? Not a J'adore Dior, but a Je Dior top. And other such, you know, slogany, easy logo tees. And it's been like, my gosh, I'm surprised they've not done this earlier. It's a quick win, okay? A lot of these re-editions are quick wins and all of that. It plays on our nostalgia and our love for a moment in time. But I'm not gonna lie to you and tell you that I'm not a sucker for it. I love it, especially if it pulls on my particular heartstrings. You're gonna get me hook, line and sinker. So anyway, I decided to throw in a bonus. This is by no means like a vintage re-edition style, but something that I just thought was worth mentioning, because I saw two brands do this and I was like, okay, one, all right, two, hold on a second. This is maybe worth flagging. Do we remember fall winter 2019, Jacquemus put these double padded massive belt bags down the runway, okay? Looking like two actual like horse, like saddles, saddling up on a horse across the waist. I don't remember them doing particularly well. They were like worth a conversation or anything, but they didn't, you know, they weren't like a runaway success or whatever. Hi, fall winter 2025 runways. Louis Vuitton has put down twinning bum bag, I'm gonna call them the twinning belt bags, down the runway in not only monogram canvas, but damier ebene, damier azur. I don't know if these are two separates that they styled or that you can almost like buckle together to create this look, or it's sold as one complete. And then the other one was Ferragamo. Now that looked to be exactly like one complete sort of ginormous double bagged entity. Anyway, I just thought you should know about it. Let me know, are there any of these kind of like nostalgic pieces that tugged on your heartstrings that you're like, oh, I might have to explore this? Let me know. I'm going to leave a link to another video over here in case you haven't already seen it. Have an amazing morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are. And in the words of my father,
if you've enjoyed it, tell your friends. If you haven't, keep your mouth shut.
I'll see you in my next video. Mwah. Bye guys.